Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video, but we're gonna go there. I guess we're gonna talk about the MrBeast allegations and all of this media circus around MrBeast. It's not something that we wanted to wade into because again, these are allegations, but it does seem like there's more and more proof that there are lots of cracks in MrBeast's empire. We're going to talk about some of the latest rounds of accusations and God, where this is gonna land. Where I think it's going to land is a lot of YouTubers making a lot less money. I think it's going to actually break YouTube again. And I want to talk about that because every time we have a high profile YouTube creator involved in some kind of a scandal, it usually affects the rest of us negatively. You know, see Logan Paul, see PewDiePie, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And again, I think that some of this stuff, let's just say the timing of it's very curious. It coming out now. If this stuff has been going on for years, like people have been saying that there have been really piss poor working conditions or, poor conditions for people in Beast videos, and there being, predators on staff and all of that. This stuff has been suppressed for years and now it's coming out, and the timing is very curious for a couple of reasons. And Geeky and I have talked about this behind the scenes. MrBeast parted ways very publicly with his longtime talent agency just a couple of months ago. And that is something that I feel like not enough people are talking about. It was kind of done on the down low that he parted ways with Night Media. And if you look into Night Media, that's a whole nother issue. They are basically a cabal that is behind a lot of the top streamers, the top YouTubers. And I think they're bankrolled by the Churning Group, which has very deep pockets and a lot of connections to a lot of money. So, you know, this myth of a lot of these YouTubers just kind of popping up overnight and pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. Now, it's not actually how it works. A lot of the biggest YouTubers and biggest streamers out there actually have the backing and financing of some very, very wealthy people. It's not cheap to make MrBeast videos, but there was a parting of the ways a couple of months ago, and I have to wonder if this isn't either retaliatory or that they were running damage control for him, and now everything is coming out now that he's doing it all himself. I don't know, but I do know that it's a mess. It's a disaster. I mean, you can't even Google MrBeast without there being just negative headline after negative headline after negative headline. And I've lost track of all the allegations. It wasn't just one. It's like once they pulled the tourniquet, the crisp bandage off, once they ripped that Band-Aid off, it's just like everything just started oozing out, and it's looking bad. You know, it's looking really bad. I just watched a video from, was it Dogpack 404, the former employee who interviewed another, again, potentially disgruntled employee, but this person basically said Jimmy Donaldson is a sociopath. And, you know, the nice guy veneer is just that this guy actually kind of gets off on putting people through a lot of shit by waving money under their noses. And he doesn't really care who gets hurt. It's all about, getting the most views, the most subs on YouTube. And he's very laser focused. He wants to be the biggest YouTuber of all time, but it is coming at a cost. And I'm going to talk about the potential cost to all of your other favorite YouTubers. And it's weird, before we get into this, I did a video or a podcast a couple of months ago talking about the end of YouTube as we've known it. And they said that in this one article I was reading, they said that the reason a lot of YouTubers are leaving now is because they think YouTube is going to become a wasteland full of MrBeast and MrBeast-like stunt videos, high-budget videos, and also a bunch of AI-generated bullshit, too. That it's going to be either or. Either it's, the lower-tier stuff is going to be AI-generated garbage, and, some people, especially Hollywood people that have access to Hollywood money, they're going to be able to produce the MrBeast type, polished entertainment for consumers. But there's not going to be a whole lot of room for people in between. And I think a lot of the mid-tier YouTubers that were very successful, but by anybody's standards a couple of years ago, a lot of them are noping out because they're like, yeah, I don't see a future on this platform. And that's a damn shame. And I'll talk about this because Geeky actually sent over, TikTok is crawling into bed with Hollywood now too. And I think that's where things are going to go. I think that Hollywood is going to get promoted more, that corporations are going to get promoted more through YouTube because it's more brand safe, because they can't let another MrBeast debacle take place. So let's talk about this latest round of allegations. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Go out and listen to the audio version of Clownfish TV, the podcast version, also derezzed. And again, we're building life rafts because I don't know how this is going to end. I do believe it's going to end badly potentially for MrBeast, his crew, and a lot of other YouTubers. The latest allegations. So I'm trying to keep track of everything here. So we had one of his close friends, Ava, Chris, whoever, whatever you want to call them at this point. I don't know. Apparently this is how it all started, that there were inappropriate Discord messages, and then that person left. And then Donaldson put out a statement saying they basically disavowed them because of, the behavior on the Discord, but then that opened up the floodgates. Now they're working on this Beast Games thing for Amazon, and we're going to talk about that because we haven't talked about much on this channel. But there are allegations now that things are not being done in a very safe manner over there, and a lot of people are coming out. And then this Dogpack 404, who was a former Beast employee, apparently wasn't there very long, but is now talking to a lot of other former Beast employees. And there's a lot of stuff that is being covered up. And this feels like a powder keg that's going to just go boom pretty soon. And I think there were threats of legal action against Dogpack 404. And then it turns out that he's probably protected under the Whistleblower Act, I'm guessing. I don't know the legality of it. I'm sure this guy is talking to his lawyers at this point, or lawyers are coming forward and offering to take the case because of how messy this whole thing is. And again, you're dealing with Donaldson, who has hundreds of millions of dollars, to his name, so he can afford good lawyers. But it does sound like a lot of stuff was kept on the down low. And I do think on some level it was because of his talent agency. I think Night Media kept things quiet or told him not to do this or that or whatever. And there was a parting of the ways because he didn't like to be told what to do. But guess what? The FTC might tell you what to do, that you can't run lotteries for children and you can't do, these dangerous things or whatever for clicks. I don't know. I think he's getting too close to the sun. Personal opinion, I don't know him. I've never met him. But I think this guy's getting too close to the sun, and it's going to cost. It's going to cost. Sportskeeda has been covering it, who was allegedly known as Delaware MrBeast crew. So this is the latest. This is another Dogpack video. This was after his first or second video, and it came out when he was talking to another former employee that they actually had a registered sex offender working at Beast Co., and that Donaldson knows all about this stuff. I mean, it's not that big of a company that the guy in charge wouldn't know about a lot of stuff, but I guess this is another thing that they kept on the down low. Again, this come from Sportskeeda, who was allegedly known as Delaware and MrBeast crew ever since Chris Ava Tyson. I thought it was Ava Chris. My apologies. Chris Ava Tyson's situation blew up on the internet. YouTube star Jimmy MrBeast himself has had to face some damning accusations, and he's not saying too much about it. I think he's lawyering up. The latest one involved YouTuber Dogpack 404, who was threatened with legal action, as I understand it, and Jake Weddle, two former MrBeast employees, alleging that Jimmy had hired and covered up a registered sexual assault offender. Jake said, from what I hear, he's on the registry for doing some not great stuff to underage people. And apparently Keemstar on Twitter found the paperwork, and that, this guy actually is on the list. And the reason they call him Delaware, and the reason he has a mask, is because he's a registered offender working in proximity to kids or underage people. And he's not allowed to go in the state of Delaware anymore. And they think it's a joke. It's funny. They knew that. He's working at the channel that has underage people on and around and just targeted 2 underage people. Yeah, MrBeast, the majority of his audience are underage people. You know, Jake also confirmed that this person was in MrBeast's video. Yeah, they covered up the fact that he not only worked there, but he was the manager when it all started. And, you know, he knew because he'd be in the videos. He'll be in the thumbnails. He'll be around. That's why they put a mask on him, so he'll know who he is. While the name of the alleged perpetrator wasn't disclosed, Jake did reveal this person was referred to as Delaware. For those wondering why the name Delaware, Jake Weddle explained, when I was there, they called him Delaware. I was like, why do you call him Delaware? Apparently, they call him Delaware because he's not allowed to go back to Delaware. That's his nickname. Now, again, this is all scuttlebutt or whatever, but Keemstar found the person. And apparently, Ava Chris Tyson was talking about this person right here. I'm going to put it on screen that this is, in fact, Delaware. And that the reason he's called Delaware was that the crime took place in Delaware with someone between less than 18 years of age. So this is not looking good, guys. And it's like every damn day. I mean, it's not just one thing. And that's the thing. Like, we held off on covering this because usually we don't chase YouTuber drama ambulances very often. Like, it's not our thing. There are other YouTubers out there that are constant. And look, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. You want to talk about the drama, but we're talking about the biggest guy on YouTube, the biggest single YouTuber in history. And what he does impacts the entire platform and hundreds of millions of kids that watch him. You know, so this isn't just some random like, oh, so-and-so, you know, had a fling with a girl or whatever. And they try. No, this is like multiple incidents of skeezy and potentially illegal behavior. And I do believe, and I wouldn't be covering it if I didn't believe it. I do believe that, you know, for all the attempts to kind of like brush this under the rug, this is actually going to have a massive impact on MrBeast and his channel and YouTube as a whole. Or I wouldn't be covering it. And, you know, what the fuck were you thinking? If this is true, what the fuck were you thinking? So yeah, they're talking about, there he is, that's Delaware. So this is just, again, this is one allegation. The floodgates are open. Apparently this dog pack 404 is talking to multiple former MrBeast employees. Now, some of them obviously are going to have an axe to grind. And this could be, on some level, again, mainstream media just looking for a reason to take him down. But MrBeast is mainstream media now. He's sold a show to Amazon. He is mainstream media. So you know, this is not a good situation. There he is again. So he's in multiple videos. They call him Delaware. This is Jake Franklin's brother-in-law. That's his name because he's not allowed to go to Delaware. MrBeast isn't saying shit. We're going to talk about some of these new accusations here. I worked for a sociopath named MrBeast. God, they're getting a lot of mileage out of this on Sports Keto. Let's go to we'll go to Giant Freaking Robot. We'll talk about the working conditions. Again, this is hitting the mainstream media now. This isn't just YouTuber scuttlebutt. This is like every story about MrBeast is some new horrible, awful accusation. And it's not just like one or two things. It's like several things. I honestly do believe personally that the MrBeast machine is an absolute shit show. You know, you got young people that got too much, too soon, too fast, with the help, I believe, of Hollywood types. That's how he got to where he's at. You know, and I'm not like knocking his personal ambition or work ethic or whatever, because apparently this guy is just like laser focused on being the world's biggest YouTuber, right? But he did use, at the beginning at least, he used Hollywood money to get there. So that's going to take me to how I'm going to wrap this particular episode up. But yeah, Giant Freaking Robot has it. They said Beast Games contestants describe horrific conditions under MrBeast. And this is an Amazon produced show. People are making jokes. That's very appropriate. It's on Amazon because their working conditions are reportedly horrible. But you know, whatever. He's part of the machine now. He's part of Hollywood now. You know, Jimmy Donaldson is MrBeast. He's very popular, but he did a non-lethal version of the Squid Game show from Netflix. Now he's created Beast Games, a real-life Amazon-backed Squid Game competition where players compete for $5 million, but contestants are now complaining that MrBeast forced them into downright horrific conditions that went far beyond anything they had previously agreed to. I do believe some of this because this is another guy this Weddle who came out, and I watched most of this video. I worked for MrBeast. He's a sociopath, and he was put through a lot of the same sort of things. I guess he was supposed to be in isolation for 30 days or 100 days or whatever for cash, and he couldn't take it. He said he couldn't take the psychological pressure of it, and he did it because he was trying to pay off his student loans. Now, do I think this guy has an axe to grind against MrBeast? Yeah, I think so. Do I think he's maybe overacting? He's a writer and an actor. So yeah, possibly. But if even half of it's true, it's pretty awful. And it's like, what the hell else goes on? Because you're dealing with people that don't have a platform. You're dealing with kids in some cases. Like, what is actually going on there? And now Amazon's involved too. So back to this article on Giant Freaking Robot. And I think they got this from I want to say the New York Times expose on it. They said on paper, the Beast Game should be a real win-win for MrBeast and Amazon. He gets to expand his empire and create more killer content for his YouTube channel. Amazon gets some insanely popular new content that just happens to rip off one of Netflix's most popular shows. Yeah. But things didn't go as planned. They said the Beast Games began with 2,000 would-be contestants. Well, they can't all be actors, right? A number that would eventually be whittled down to 1,000 people who would appear on the show proper, like the Squid Game show that's modeled after. This MrBeast competition had contestants facing rough conditions. They were stuck living in Nevada's Allegiant Stadium and had to surrender belongings like phones, underwear, and medication to those organizing the competition. So this could potentially kill somebody. What if you're on medication that literally saves your life? Like, you have to take this every day. Everyone with important medication was assured they would have access to it as needed, but that's just one way the Beast Games didn't go as planned. It actually sounds worse than what happens in Squid Game. According to an anonymous Beast Game contestant who spoke with New York Times, yeah, this is okay. One diabetic competitor didn't receive their insulin until hours after it needed to be taken. Another person was initially denied food they needed to take with their own medication. This may have contributed to why some of the competitors allegedly vomited and passed out. And there are stories about some contestants having seizures due to withheld medicine. They said one particularly sinister allegation is that some menstruating female contestants were denied quick access to their spare underwear while a MrBeast crew member laughed at their plight. Holy hell. Is competing worth the money? Well, this is like, okay, so that Weddle guy, he said that he went on the one video that they wound up scrapping actually because he said he has PTSD from it because they wouldn't shut the lights off, I guess, in his room. They wouldn't shut the lights off until like the very end. And then they were going to have him run a marathon after that. And then they had to reshoot the whole video because they said he was so clearly distraught that it didn't look fun. So they went and got somebody else to do it. And they scrapped his version of the video. But he did it because he was trying to pay his student loans. He wanted to pay because MrBeast promised he'd pay his student loans off. I mean, this is like some serious grade A fucking with people's mental state. If this is true. And I'm starting to, at first I was kind of like, I don't know. But now that more and more of these stories are coming out and more people are coming out and MrBeast is trying so hard to shut people up, I'm like, yeah, I think it's true. I mean, you don't get video content like that without breaking a few eggs. You don't get to be the biggest YouTuber on the platform. And at first I thought, well, this is just a bunch of sour grapes. This is a bunch of people that want to see MrBeast fall because they don't like what the platform has become because of MrBeast and clones. There are clones of MrBeast. They're, like from Wish, but like you actually watch his videos and you think about what has to happen to get those results on camera. And you're like, yeah, this is some grade A, like sociopathic bullshit. I mean, and he said that Jimmy Donaldson, this is his opinion. Again, I've never met him. I don't know. But he said he's a sociopath. He said he basically, the charity thing is just to kind of throw people. He's doing it just to make sure nobody can really take a good hard look at everything that's going on and what it takes to make these videos. I don't know. I mean, I think it's weird, and you have to keep upping the ante too, right? You can't stop with just giving money to homeless people and filming it. You eventually gotta have 2,000 people shoved into a stadium and take away their meds and their underwear. You know, and there's a cartoon going around. I shared it the other day on Twitter. I think it was Avocado Animations, where basically to get to 1 billion subs, he had to like destroy the moon or something. Like, you have to keep upping the ante. You can't ever de-escalate. But I think it's going to de-escalate, because I think it's going to go boom after this. I don't think there's any coming back from this. I mean, I don't think MrBeast is going to go broke. I really don't. But like, it's not looking good. I said, regarding the food and water shortages at the Beast game, a MrBeast spokesperson insisted all contestants were offered 3 meals a day, but anonymous contestants have alleged they were generally fed 400-calorie meals only twice a day. So that's about 800 calories. That's about half or less than half of what a normal person needs to function, especially if you're competing in something that requires a lot of energy. You can't really live long-term on 800 calories a day unless you're very, very fat. And then you've got, but even then, it's not advisable. One contestant claims he went 20 hours without eating. Others have reported having to fight over food. In addition to general shortages of food and water, contestants claim they're only allowed 3 to 4 hours of sleep per day. That also echoes that Weddle guy who said that he wasn't allowed to sleep when he was in isolation because they needed the time-lapse footage. So they couldn't have the lights go out for 8 hours or 6 hours or whatever. The lights were on all the time. In other words, Beast Games conditions were already bad enough, and tales about the actual competition weren't much better. In a competition involving teams pulling 400 ropes attached to 10,000-pound weights on 800 calories a day, there are stories of contestants violently shoving each other while the MrBeast crew failed to take control of the situation. One person claims to have been injured in this competition and offered $1,000 as a consolation prize before having to give the money back after the crew stopped filming. A real-life dystopian nightmare. The whole thing, including nasty tales of broken bones, paints a very ugly picture of the Beast Games and the man running them. Many people have openly wondered about the ethics of creating a real-life competition based on a Netflix reality show about the dystopian world created by capitalism. Well, there we go. Here's MrBeast presiding over all of it at like 25, 26 years old. And one contestant vividly described having to cheer for the YouTuber while he stood over a shrine containing $5 million. We're all just looking up at the sky, screaming at him like he's God. Will it harm his reputation? Absolutely. Absolutely it will. And this is the thing. This is what his former employee, again, possibly disgruntled, but we're seeing more and more stories like this come out. He said that he basically toys with people like he's God. And they said him crying like, oh, you're gonna make me cry. Oh, I'm building you a house. All that he claims. I mean, again, we don't know, but he claims it's all for show. That's all about the show. It's all about what's on camera, and that he's not actually a sympathetic person. I mean, you'd have to be a little sadistic to put people through this. And the flip side of that is, if you know what you're getting yourself into and you sign the papers, it's kind of like, well, what the hell? But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm like, yeah, this is. I never really sat down and watched like a typical MrBeast video. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was just like kid stuff. I thought it was like Double Dare. I thought it was like, no, there's some seriously like crazy shit that happens in these videos. And again, what you see is the escalation. You have to keep up in the ante, and eventually you get to a place where it's ridiculous what you have to do to top the views, video after video after video. Then that's on top of allegations that a lot of the stuff is staged, faked, and potentially illegal, because apparently he was scrubbing the internet, as I understand it. And again, I'm not really following this super close, but it's just like, holy hell. But apparently he was scrubbing the internet of live streams he did where you had to like buy a t-shirt to enter a contest to win money, and that's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. And but he was doing it, and there's a lot of footage. And so at that point you could be getting the FTC involved, and I'm going to talk about that in relation here pretty soon to the rest of YouTube. And how I think the MrBeast situation could effectively destroy YouTube for everybody else. So congratulations, Jimmy. Congratulations if that was your goal. You just like blew up YouTube for the rest of us. I want to talk about Feastables real quick, because this is one thing I noticed myself just as a marketing person and as, you know, somebody who follows, you know, like where stuff is going, what's selling, what's not selling. Feastables are already available in Ollie's and they're not selling for a fraction of what they're supposed to sell for, which is like $2 or $3 a bar, right? Now they're saying there's all kinds of crazy, you know, demand for Feastables or whatever. I'm not seeing it. If there is, and it could just be here in Pennsylvania, but I am not seeing it. What I am seeing is Walmart's moving Feastables to the as seen on TV aisle, which is over by the cigarettes on the way out of the store, and they're not selling there either. They're $3 bars. I've never purchased one. I think it's too much for a candy bar. But I'm seeing a lot of the other Feastables related stuff, like the Carl gummies or whatever. They're on clearance, and they've been on clearance for months, and they're not selling. So and then we know what happened with this hamburger joint. That blew up too, and I think that was another Night Media, Night Ventures debacle. So I think what we're seeing, at least from my perspective, is MrBeast's online fame is not really translating well to the real world, at least not in the candy bar arena. Like this is like some, I mean, you want to talk about Willy Wonka shit. This is like some sick Willy Wonka shit. If this stuff is true, putting people through ridiculous challenges to get a little something at the end, you might win the, you know, you got the golden ticket, you might win the candy factory or whatever, the chocolate factory, but then also peddling candy bars to kids while hiring sex pests. You know, it's like, what the fuck? I'm going to swear in this video. What the fuck is going on over there? That's for the government to figure out. That's for the police to figure out, but it's not looking good, right? I'm just saying it's not looking good. Again, to circle back around to Night Media, I feel like not enough people are talking about this because it was kind of on the down low. Like a lot of people didn't even know he parted ways with Night Media, but yeah, he left. He told Night Media in recent days, this is back in May, that the company will no longer be his primary talent management agency. Two people briefed on the conversations told Semaphore Donaldson, the People says, taking increasingly personal control of his business, which he said last year brings in more than $600 million in annual revenue. The move is a mark of growing power, the growing power of giant creators across the entertainment industry. Donaldson recently made his major Hollywood deal with Amazon, and Knight is still involved in that. I think they actually put out a statement on LinkedIn, and they're still involved in that because I think he made that deal while under them. So I think they get a cut. But I am wondering if they weren't covering for everything that was going on. I'm wondering if there's somebody very pissed off at, because if they're getting even 10% of what he makes in a year, and he's making $600 million a year, it's $60 million. And they're not getting that money anymore. And, you know, it's very possible that they're like, yeah, well, we made you, we brought you into this world, and we can take you out of this world. Because they were using their money originally, as I understand the story, they used their money to give him money to give away at first to help him grow his channel. Knight did not return multiple requests for comment, but the company has told People expects to have an ongoing relationship with Donaldson, if not an exclusive one. No more. Donaldson began working with Knight founder Reed Deutscher in February of 2018. And apparently Reed comes up in these dog pack videos, and he's basically told Jimmy not to do this, not to do that, not to do whatever. So I don't know what actually went down, but I feel like this is something that a lot of people are missing, that might have been a layer of protection that the Beast company had that they no longer have. Or it could be somebody from Knight taking revenge. I don't know. It's just speculation. I know my wife and I have talked about it. I'm like, why is nobody talking about the talent agency split? It feels to me like that's a very important thing that we're missing. And they do look into Night Media. They actually bankroll or manage a lot of the top streamers out there, a lot of the top YouTubers out there. It's a whole thing. And they do have access to Hollywood and venture capital money. And so these YouTubers you think are growing organically are not actually growing organically. That I can tell you from firsthand experience, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, He said, yeah. Reed said in 2022, Donaldson was looking for help making money from his growing channel. We have a great relationship, the manager said, adding the two sometimes bicker like an old married couple. Well, apparently they got divorced. Their relationship cooled. One person who knows both men said when Donaldson asked Reed to take over his Feastables food brand last year, among the issues, Reed's insistence on continuing to operate his management company independently and his refusal to move full-time from Austin, Texas to Greenville, North Carolina, where Donaldson grew up and is headquartered. Yeah, they are in Austin. And if you look in, oh God, this is a whole thing. You look into Knight, there are some names associated with Knight Media that have been involved in YouTube since pretty much the beginning. And they've actually been involved, in other well-publicized, creator economy implosions. Let's just put it that way. There are a couple of people working with Knight that were involved with Rooster Teeth, and they were involved with Maker Studios and a lot of other, here today, gone tomorrow type scenarios. That's all I'm going to say. The move is a setback for Knight, which has rapidly built up an impressive list of online YouTubers, streamers, and influencers by pointing to its success in helping MrBeast become the most successful American YouTuber and one of the highest earning digital creators. And then he just kicked him to the curb. Well, if they were pissed, I'm just saying. They talk about the burger chain. The attempts to enter new industries have not been successful. After MrBeast's burger chain received bad reviews from his fans, Donaldson complained that he lost control of the business. Young signed a bad deal. The troubled launch was probably the most stressful thing I've ever been part of, Reed told YouTubers Colin and Samir in 2022. MrBeast's company and the Ghost Kitchen firm who he'd licensed his brand to are now locked in litigation. I don't think this is going to be MrBeast's last lawsuit. I'm just saying. Yeah, MrBeast was Knight's biggest client. The company has grown dramatically in recent years, thanks partially to its connection to Donaldson, as well as interest from investors in building businesses around a new generation of digital celebrities. Yes, in 2020, Knight Inc. announced it was forming a new investment company, Knight Capital, with the Churning Group. Variety reported that Knight Capital had $100 million in commitments from the Churning Group to acquire consumer-facing companies in partnership with leading talent. Yes. So here's the thing, right? So Hollywood's getting involved in all this. And TikTok is getting involved in this now, the Chasing Hollywood. Man, this is going to be a long video. But yeah, TikTok is debuting a new tool for Hollywood to drive engagement, says studios will never miss another opportunity. So they're going to take advantage of this too, and they're going to go all Hollywood. I think this is going to end badly for YouTubers. And I just want to point to previous adpocalypses. I think what's going to happen if the MrBeast thing just completely blows up and it's the end of MrBeast, or advertisers are afraid to advertise on these kinds of channels or whatever anymore for whatever reason, right? What is potentially going to happen is that YouTube, the algorithm is going to push more and more corporate content. They're not going to make another MrBeast. They're going to make damn sure they don't make another MrBeast. And what they're going to do is they're going to go to the Universals and the Disneys and the whatever. It's like, hey, we're going to put your content above independent creator content because we know it's brand safe, quote unquote, brand safe. It's advertiser safe. And then YouTube is going to stop being YouTube and it's going to just be another corporate streaming platform. And as long as they're making money, as long as YouTube and Google are making money, they don't care who's making the content. They don't care if it's freaking AI. They do not care. As long as they're making money, they don't care. And that is kind of a scary proposition if you're a YouTuber, right? I mean, that's kind of where, I'm looking at like, yeah, this is going to be a very bad thing, I think, for a lot of people. I think this is partially why a lot of people that have been in this game for a while are taking the opportunity and nope out. And, so let's just look at the adpocalypse. So first we had the first adpocalypse can be traced back to 2016 after YouTube shifted their focus toward family-friendly content, affecting many channels with adult audiences like Phil DeFranco. And then in 2017, we had the PewDiePie thing where he supposedly put somebody up to making anti-Semitic content. The Hitler joke. Remember the Hitler joke? And then in 2017, famous American reality TV personality model Kendall Jenner was featured in a YouTube Pepsi ad, which drew criticism because she gave a Pepsi can to a police officer during protests. And then that was another apocalypse. During 2017, advertisers dwindled even more, only being shown on channels that were considered family friendly. This is coming from youtube.fandom.com, by the way, but this is a good encapsulation of what's happened. Many content creators joked and complained that their net worth had decreased due to YouTube and advertisers not deeming them family friendly. It's caused many smaller and aspiring creators to leave the site. Yeah, every time one of these apocalypse happens, more yous leave YouTube because it's not worth it anymore. They can't do it anymore. They can't compete. And I've seen a lot of channels that were huge back in the day just completely shrivel and die. Many content creators stayed or changed and deleted their older video titles, thumbnails, and content so as to not be demonetized. They changed or added content to their YouTube brand that was deemed more advertiser friendly by YouTube. Many within the YouTube community feel that YouTube adopted this policy because it wanted to incentivize creators who were promoting a favored agenda. H3 further proved that YouTube advertisements were more likely to go on television-based channels rather than user-generated ones, even if both parties support or show the same agenda. That is true. And I think the MrBeast thing, if it goes kaboom, that is going to be the preferred. Like you're already seeing more MSNBC and more Saturday Night Live and more, Jimmy Kimmel and that kind of stuff promoted to trending or promoted to the top of the page. And I think that is going to become the standard. Like YouTube is going to be a streaming service like Netflix, but also user-generated content. But that user-generated content is not going to get seen as much because it's not ad safe. 2017, they also had toy channels. Yeah, that was the whole thing. All these toy opening videos. And then that shit blew up too because they had, they're like, oh yeah, kids are promoting their, marketing to other kids and they need to disclose that and whatever. Then we had 2019. So we had the PewDiePie thing, the toy thing. They forgot about the Elsa and Spider-Man videos. That was a whole thing where we had all these weird Elsa and Spider-Man and Joker, kind of like scat fetish videos that were geared toward kids where like Elsa and Spider-Man were doing the nasty and then having surgery, or it would start out like a kid's cartoon like Coco Melon or something. And it'd be like flash animation. And all of a sudden, like the Joker appears and like cuts off Elsa's arm with a freaking hacksaw. So all that crap happened too. And then people were backing off. Really what I think it's about is corporations, these big corporations just controlling all the ad money. That's what I think it's about, and controlling the content through the ad money, which is why Disney tried to buy, or why they did buy Maker Studios back in the day, was to control YouTube, and they did not know what they were buying. And they didn't realize that you didn't, just by buying Maker Studios, you didn't get to buy YouTube on the cheap. That's not how it worked. But yeah, 2019, they had this softcore P-word ring on the site. He placed the blame on the algorithm, and then basically all the family channels imploded at that point. So we had a lot of channels out there for a long time that were doing family like vlogs and stuff. Well, they weren't allowed to be monetized anymore because they showed their kids at like gymnastics or something. And then that was like, if you showed kids in videos at all, then you weren't allowed to monetize the videos. You weren't allowed to have comments on the videos or whatever. And that was a whole thing. And that destroyed a lot of channels. And you had, families making millions of dollars a year, just like vlogging everyday stuff. And you don't see that anymore. And then they had another one with Steven Crowder. Carlos Maz, I remember that whole thing. And he demanded that YouTube demonetize Steven Crowder. And then we had a bunch of conservatives being demonetized in 2019. And yeah, it just continues on and on and on. If this MrBeast thing blows up, and I believe it's going to, that could be kind of the kiss of death. He could be like the last biggest independent YouTuber. And after that, it could just be like people were fearing a hellscape of corporate stuff, corporate product, corporate videos. But technically speaking, he was produced by a corporation, Churning Group money. So It's like, I don't know, guys. It's just, there's no more you in YouTube. It's you're just a spoke in a bigger wheel. And I really, truly am hoping that we get some more viable alternatives. But this whole antitrust thing going on, the whole advertising thing going on right now with X and that place that rhymes with tumble, there have to be more alternatives, right? So we'll see what happens. But there we go. That is kind of the latest with MrBeast, as I understand it. It's a lot to digest. There are hours and hours and hours of content out there that you guys can watch on it. He's lived long enough to become the content. And why does it always end this way? Why can't streamers just like... Why can't YouTubers just like, hey, I'm just going to stop and retire? So MatPat did, right? MatPat did. But like, why can't you just say, hey, you know what? I've got hundreds of millions of dollars. I never have to work again for the rest of my life. I'm good with that. I'm just going to retire. Yeah, I'm just going to retire. No, we can't. We got to go out in a blaze of glory, right? So I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.